Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So yes, this is yet another double upload day. We haven't done one in a while, but we are getting closer and closer to the election. We're just 5 days away. 5 days from now, we'll be analyzing the results out of these states, which is absolutely insane. It's definitely been a ride so far, but we're not there yet. But Dr. Oz might be nearing the finish line in Pennsylvania. He is currently ahead in the Real Clear Politics average, and there have been some polls that have gone his way that haven't really made it into the RCP average, but he still has a lead over John Fetterman, 46.6 to 46.3, and that is with some iffy polls in the mix that have had a bad track record in the state of Pennsylvania. Fox, for example, USA Today, and even some polls that have underestimated Republicans in Pennsylvania, like Morning Call, have this race tied, and Oz has a lead. And you want to compare this to the polling trajectory mixed with the average polling error we've seen over the past few election cycles. Dr. Oz would have a 3.4% lead, and that lead is growing as we get closer and closer to Election Day, as a lot of undecided voters come home. A lot of them disapprove of Biden. A lot of them do not like Fetterman, and Oz is getting the base on board, just like I said would happen. And currently, as we sit 5 days away from the election, he has a lead. Don Bolduc also took the lead in New Hampshire, and we covered his surge in a recent video as well. But this is absolutely insane, and if this continues, could the wave build up? How much will he win by? What about Doug Mastriano? We're going to answer all those questions, but first I have to tell you guys about our very good friends over at Noble Gold, because things are most certainly getting worse out there. This is true. You look at inflation, it's through the roof. It's at 8.2% and getting worse, and we're not all that great with money, are we? At times like these, you need a trusted partner to look after you and to make sure you're okay, and Noble Gold is the team that you want on your side. Keep your money safe and grab an incredible free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin when you open your qualifying IRA account with them this month of over $20,000. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. So, Dr. Oz in the lead, Doug Mastriano down in the polls significantly. However, these polls have not been non-prone to polling errors, because we have seen them in the past. We saw them in the primaries as well. And the debate definitely helped Dr. Oz. This is the race that people are energized for on both sides. This is the X Factor race. This is the race that people are turning out for. If anybody is going to carry anybody, it is going to happen at the Senate race level in Pennsylvania, although a fair amount of ticket splitting could very well happen, which is true. But either way, you look at the debate, we covered that on this channel. Oz utterly destroyed Fetterman. The excuses were pathetic. They could say Fetterman had a stroke all they want to. That doesn't change the fact that the average voter is going to be scratching their heads as to why that would be something that would really be a benefit for Fetterman. Obviously, if he's got a medical problem, he shouldn't really be serving Pennsylvania in the United States Senate. But furthermore, they don't even take into account the fact that Fetterman arguably debated just about as poorly in the Democrat primary. However, he still got the nomination, and he is totally cratering as we speak in the polls in Pennsylvania. Oz leads. If you lead in the polls as a Republican in Pennsylvania and your side has the energy factor, you're probably a lock to win. We'll just say that much, and that is true. And you want to talk about polling errors, because they have existed, and they existed in the primaries, mainly in the Republican primary in Western Pennsylvania, where David McCormick, some polls, he was down at 11% in the polls, yet he ended up getting 31% of the vote, and he gave Oz a run for his money. Initially, we thought it would be neck and neck between Oz and Barnett. Barnett did best in certain parts of southeastern Pennsylvania, some southeastern rural areas there, but the polls were vastly off in Western Pennsylvania. They missed Western Pennsylvania completely. Emerson was arguably the only poll that sort of gauged McCormick's support properly, And you look at Emerson, and they also got Mastriano's number down pretty well too. And you look at Emerson so far, they currently have Oz ahead by 1 and gaining, which is very good news for Dr. Oz as we sit right now. But furthermore, the polls were awful in the primary, so much so to the point where there was a 10-plus polling miss in Western PA for both the Senate election and for the governorship as well, in that primary where Mastriano outperformed the polls by roughly 10 percentage points or so. And it's very possible the polls are underestimating that part of Pennsylvania again. And Mastriano is probably not going to lose by 12 points. If he loses, I think it is going to be within 5 points or so. And this is very true. He doesn't have a lot of money. That's why he's polling so poorly right now. He's a great candidate. I hope he pulls off the upset of a century there. However, the party establishment, the RGA, they really have done all they can do to leave him out to dry, which has absolutely been a problem. And we know this. And Josh Shapiro is a chronic underperformer of polls. He underperformed a lot of the polls for the Attorney General's race in 2020. A lot of polls had him winning by 10, 15 percentage points. He only won by 4 and change. He outperformed Biden by just around 3 points or so, which is really telling that Mastriano is an overperformer, Shapiro is an underperformer. Maybe this is a good sign that Mastriano could actually do a lot better than people anticipate him to. Personally, I think he'll run behind Oz by around 6 points or so, give or take. But we'll see. But it's possible Oz could win by that margin. It is absolutely true. We'll get to the early vote in a second. But first and foremost, we need to look at the county map here for the state of Pennsylvania. And Oz is somebody who is probably going to do better in southeastern Pennsylvania than past Republicans, especially when you consider it is a midterm year. You're probably going to see Democrat turnout dip in the Philadelphia area, which does tie into the early vote as well, because Democrats showing nationwide in the early vote is not exactly where they want it to be, given the fact that a lot of Dems now are voting in the early vote, or they're voting by mail in terms of Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is pretty much just mail-in for the early vote. There's not a lot of in-person early voting in Pennsylvania. And so far, they have turned out less than 1 million voters so far. Compare that to 2020 at this point, where Democrats turned out a total lead that was wider than the amount that has turned out this cycle, which is also something that is very telling. And you look at suburban Philadelphia, Chester County, it's been a little swingy. A lot of voters there split their ticket in 2016 for Pat Toomey. Pat Toomey won Chester County. I'm thinking that Oz could get this probably within 6 points or so, give or take. And already you look at the margin that would narrow it to. Already, you could look at this here. We'll go over here. Already it's within 0.7 percentage points. So already you see it narrow. You talk about Philadelphia. Oz has a very good operation going in Philadelphia. He did very well there in the primary. He'll probably crack 20%. We'll even give him 21 there. Already, it's over. He's won. That doesn't even take Delco into account. He'll probably do a little bit better in Delco as well. Get that to like a 21-point lead for Fetterman. Montgomery County, I think that he could get probably like 42%, give or take, and I think he is going to flip Bucks County. I think he'll win Bucks by probably around 4 points or so. So already that's a 2-point win, and that doesn't even take into account him doing better in a place like Pittsburgh, potentially him doing better in these other counties where he did very well in the primary. I think that he will do well in the exurban places like Northampton. I think he'll probably flip Northampton into the Republican column among some of these other counties. And if he's able to do that, if he's able to flip a county like Lehigh, if he's able to do better in a place like Dauphin, where statewide Republicans have done better, especially with black turnout likely dipping in Harrisburg, already we're looking at that margin go up to about Oz plus 2 and change. And he'll probably, in my opinion, win by around 3. He could win by even more than that if the base comes home, especially as the polls have been underestimating Western Pennsylvania. And this is true. But Democrats are in full cope mode about this race because nothing is in their favor. The early vote, the margins, not exactly where they needed to be in the state of Pennsylvania. Furthermore, you're looking at this, they're not leading in the polls. They're really not. In Pennsylvania, a Rust Belt state that typically underestimates Republicans in the polls, they can't get a lead. Fetterman is stuck there at 46. That's down from being at 48%, which I said was his ceiling just a couple of weeks ago. The debate didn't go their way. Now they're saying that Josh Shapiro is going to bail out John Fetterman out of nowhere. It's like, no, this is the race that is the cornerstone race that everybody's talking about. Yes, there are a lot of ticket splitters in the Philadelphia suburbs. Sadly, they may sink Mastriano, but they're also going to be what carries Dr. Oz to victory as well. And if Mastriano does pull off the upset of a century, it's probably going to be because he does extraordinarily well in western Pennsylvania, in the T part of the state that's in the middle part. You know, they call it the T because the T used to be red, and back in the day, you would see the southwestern portion be blue, but a lot of those voters in places like Washington and Greene County, those white working class voters, flipped Republican, and then you see some of the suburbs of Philadelphia get even bluer. And, you know, parts of northeastern Pennsylvania used to be a lot bluer as well back in the day. You look at this county right here, Pike County. I believe that county went for Obama in 2008 even. And then the middle part was red, and then center used to also be red. That's kind of changed. The T is now just basically everywhere except Allegheny, center, and then some of the collar counties surrounding Philadelphia. But even so, Republicans have a chance to perform respectably in them given the white working class concentration. That's why Pennsylvania is a state that is going to be in play for Republicans for decades to come, more likely than not. If anything, it could lean a little bit more to the right than it currently sits at right now. So already we see this here. You look at Pennsylvania, this is a state that's going for Dr. Oz. Could it go for Mastriano? It would take a miracle. However, get out and vote. You got to help the guy out regardless. He has a massive funding disadvantage, but he does have a lot of support in the grassroots and has a good grassroots operation. So we'll see what happens. But either way, Republicans are going to do very well overall in the state of Pennsylvania. Oz will win. Given the recent trends of the generic ballot, you're likely going to see Bognet finally defeat Cartwright. You will see Wild go down. Maybe some other seats could very well flip as well. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.